So your role as the trusted advisor is to understand the key issues and match them with the target client for whom those issues are going to be relevant. So I'm sort of starting to probably repeat myself here a bit, but it really is that, as far as I see it, that simple. And you're in the best position, as I said at the outset, to drive this process. You can do it, you already know the client. If you're an accountant, it might be a monthly, quarterly, at least annual opportunity to discuss and raise these issues. Financial planning, I know there's annual reviews, but a lot of you are in contact with your clients much more regularly than that. And just having the confidence to raise these issues, once again, not promising to answer the problems, but just raising them and documenting their responses is a value add, coupled with your ability to deliver and project manage the solutions through your due diligence in your team. Emotional engagement with the client, you hear a lot about that, and it's not a lie. I use the example, I say, client comes in, new client, I say, have you got an existing lawyer? Yep, go on. Okay, well that's good. When was the last time you saw them? 12 years ago? 1993? Okay, what did they do for you? Oh, they did my will, estate planning. Now, how many of your clients do you think would think of you as their accountant or financial planner if they hadn't seen you for 12 years? None of them. You don't ring them every quarter and they think you're neglecting them. Because they've gone into the lawyer and they've bared their soul. They've told you about Jimmy who's on drugs and Betty who with this bloke that you don't like and all that sort of stuff. So it's an emotional process, and it should be. And if you raise the issues, the key issues, in an emotional way, in a personal way, you will strengthen your relationship with that client. And I know that those of you who are operating in this area and are adopting this approach have said it is real. It is tangible and real when you go through this process with a client. So I often get asked, is it financial advice? My view, for what it's worth, is sort of half who cares, but also I don't think it is, strictly speaking, financial advice. But there are financial product inputs. So the extent that you're solving a problem through an investment strategy, risk insurance, those sort of things, then you need to go through your normal processes. It may be that your dealer group or your own business processes dictate that you treat it as financial advice and go through those processes anyway. But I don't see that as a stumbling block, and I think too much is made of it. It's a relationship role. Once again, it's about understanding your client's laziness and putting yourself forward as the key person to deliver something for them. Is it legal advice? Advising on the solutions and preparing the documents. Preparing the documents is definitely legal advice, and you're mad if you do it. I've got here always involve a lawyer, not because of self-interest, but because you're mad if you don't. In the sense of, it doesn't have to be me, preferably it is, but you just shouldn't be doing documents without the involvement of a solicitor. Advising on the solutions. I use an analogy when there was a whole lot of changes to business structures. So this is sort of early 2000s, I guess. And I would be called out every day to go to an accountant's office and talk about whether it should be a partnership of trust, a company, a unit trust, whether we should have this in here, whether we should have that in there, where the debt should be. And I would go out there probably 3 times a week. And then 3 or 4 months later, I'd be going out there once a week. And then it was once a month. And now the instruction sheets come through, I pump out the entities, and so there's been that transfer of knowledge about the solutions to the complementary advisors. And that takes time, and it takes application and involvement. This is no different. In fact, this is really more appropriate for it to be in the hands of financial planners and accountants, this particular role. But there is a key role for the lawyer to play, which is good news for me. But stop at the plain English estate plan, or involve the solicitor in the solution and document preparation. Once again, it's a relationship role. That's how I see it. I don't see it as a legal role, financial planning role, accounting role, whatever. It's a relationship role. Get some knowledge about the key issues, analyse your database and identify need. Send out information to raise awareness. meet with the clients and raise the key issues. Get appointed to manage the solutions. And you don't need to have all the answers to get started. So let's touch on internal experts, because I've seen this work really well. And what you need to do within your organisation is spread awareness of estate planning and awareness of what it can do, and an awareness and build it into the processes of your business. But where I've seen this work well is if you concentrate expertise. So rather than sending everybody off to become an expert, they're all aware of it, but one person might internally work with the advisors and accountants to go to meetings with them, find the external advisors, do due diligence on the lawyers, get an understanding of pricing, all that sort of stuff, and then deliver that as an internal service. Their external role is to do the due diligence on the external advisors, take the uncertainty out of pricing, deliver that internally. And they can create the momentum on and focus around marketing. They can do the database analysis, all that sort of stuff. When I've seen that approach adopted, it universally produces really good outcomes. So the value to your practice, coming back to my accounting friend, said charging a modest fee. You're not going to retire on estate planning is the bad news. Just the way it's been positioned in the market by lawyers, unfortunately, a race to the bottom, have set an expectation in this market that is rising, but it's got a long way to go. But you will get compensated for your time if you structure it appropriately. And there will be other spin-offs associated with financial planning, accounting, insurance, but you're investing in the relationship with the client, and you're actually getting paid to invest in that relationship. That's the way I see it. You're getting compensated to cement that relationship. So I think you need to be realistic about this area, and the fees have to be realistic because you will hit ceilings. And how you position that value is really important. And I think particularly in relation to pricing and the fact that your plain English summary will enable the task of documenting someone's concerns and gathering their data is only so big. Now, writing down the fact that they want to put a man on the moon doesn't take any longer than saying they want to give all their assets to their spouse. Obviously, in order to deliver the man on the moon, it's a lot more complex than giving all their assets to the spouse. But actually documenting the plan, you can quote pretty well. And you can sort of set the quote depending on the complexity of the client's affairs that you already know about. And then that document then can go off, and then you should be able to get a fixed price from the people who are going to implement it, whether it be a lawyer or other parties, based on the fact that you've already scoped the job for them. We've talked about the fact that estate planning needs to be repositioned in the mind of the client, and it needs to be taken away from the will and really contextualised within the life, within the day-to-day issues that the client's facing. So the tangible outcomes, just so that you, once again, I'm trying to give you a very broad perspective on how all this fits together. The outcomes are things, this is the sort of result. Clients also say, it was a really interesting conversation, but I haven't got anything yet. So what they can get is they can get estate plans, wills, enduring powers of attorney, deeds of mutual wills, super nominations, updates, self-managed super funds. There's a whole lot of, but that's pretty much your toolkit, or a lawyer's toolkit, for addressing, and also other advisors' toolkits for addressing or delivering the solutions to the key issues that you're raising with the client. I've put in here some fees, and just talking about the fee structure. That will vary depending on the market you're in, how your practice is positioned, but anywhere from a very small fee, up to quite a reasonable fee, and obviously we've seen facilitation fees well in excess of $10, $20, $30, $40, $50,000 depending on the nature of the client. But for my target market, that middle tier 2, that's around about the mark where there doesn't seem to be a lot of resistance. So around the sort of $1,000 to $4,000 sort of mark, and that's for the project management and aspects of it rather than. We've talked about the role of risk insurance in estate planning, which is quite important. It fills a lot of gaps in bridging the objective that the client wants to achieve and the final outcome. And the takeaway in the context of working with other advisors is get authority, don't delegate responsibility. Quickly, why things go wrong. You don't identify your value up front. You think you need to know all the answers. Hopefully I've drilled that into you that that's not the case. You leave it to the lawyer and nothing happens. I'm not dissing lawyers here, but that has been a feature of this area. Because it wasn't sexy, they'd rather do the M&A transaction and the will would just get left under the sort of shelf. You leave it to the client to contact the lawyer and they don't. The last thing they want to do is go and see a lawyer. Not because lawyers are bad people, but it's just another relationship they need to have. And people want to minimise the relationships and the number of people they discuss these issues with. You leave it to the client and the lawyer, and then the client gets a bill they're not expecting because someone wasn't in there managing those expectations and reducing that price uncertainty. And you leave it to the client to make the decisions and the documents never get completed because no one's driving it through. So they're the main issues where we see this thing going off the rails. So finally, the sort of tools that you need to put together. You need some marketing materials, information flyers, standard letters. You need to go through your database of clients. You might need some website content, instruction sheets. You might want to develop or use someone else as a estate organiser to bring it all together. We've got some samples there. And we've also associated with a system that helps generate letters and raise awareness and then ultimately project manage those documents all the way through, which people want any more information on, they can approach me. So finally, how can we help? Obviously, we love feeding you breakfast and having you here. We like to do the legal stuff. So if anybody would like to work with us, we're certainly open for business and for new clients and we'd love to hear from you. We're happy to provide further and more detailed training to you or your staff in relation to these issues, and not just in relation to the legal technical stuff, but also how to make this part of their practice. We're even happy to work with you to segment your client base and look at how they could be targeted for these particular key issues. We're happy to provide materials. Obviously, we're not totally altruistic. We hope that in providing you the materials, the work will ultimately come to us. But we can save you some time we spend a lot of time. Our website's got literally hundreds of articles and we can provide those in paper format if you'd like to raise this awareness within your client base. And we can provide you with systems that can help you document things like estate plans, discussion letters to clients, those sort of things which you can access online, which is something we've been working on for quite some time. And we're also happy to mentor young advisors. So if you see any value in having us meet with your advisors on a regular basis, obviously we will charge, then we'd certainly be happy to do that and make this a reality within your practices. Thank you.